The 13th round of the 16th Street Racing League takes us to the Magic Mile, New Hampshire Motor Speedway, a track which measures 1.06 miles in length and has got banking that confuses even the best of drivers. Joshua Chin is once again your points leader with now just a handful of races left to go in the championship, 3 after today's race. However, Matt Cook is still there in the picture, and don't discount Tim Holgate. Yes, right now, he's 18 points back. However, we've seen all season long that point gaps can close and eke out as quickly as these cars traverse this racetrack. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Will Vincent along with Aaron Likens once again as qualifying now underway at the Magic Mile, Loudon, New Hampshire. And Aaron, of the 4 tracks remaining in this race, arguably this has got to be the wild card.
Oh, yes, definitely the wild card. As you said, this banking can confuse even the best of drivers. And really, what makes this track so difficult is, even though it's an oval, it sort of has a road course feel to it with the lines you have to take. The inside is not the fastest. You got to sort of run that second, third lane, and when we get to racing, that can be very, very complicated because you can make a pass on the inside, and at the exit of the corner, the car on the inside is going to sort of blend into the car on the outside, and issues can arise. We saw that last season. Tempers were very hot after the race here last year.
Yeah, this is almost like the Talladega of this 16th Street Racing League season. And let's not forget, it's a track which has had so much history in IndyCar racing as well. Who can forget Will Power, the double bird in 2011, the crazy final restart that happened there in the Eyes on IndyCar series. And as far as surprises go, we have got a surprise at the top of the timing sheets right now, because Tim Holgate has put that car in provisional pole position. Matt Cook is all the way down in the 17th position right now.
Wow, that is completely unexpected, considering that in practice, Matt Cook was fastest, and Tim Holgate, up until the last few minutes, was sitting in about P18, P19. And when it comes to pole, and we do have a change up there. Martin Miller is now our quick qualifier. He is very good at qualifying, Miller is. But for Holgate, if he could have got pole, this championship very much could come down to bonus points. And for Matt Cook, right now, starting 25th, we were talking before the broadcast that this looked like it was going to be Cook's evening, and not starting out the way he envisioned it for sure.
Once again, when we think a driver is going to have the upper hand, and we saw this in practice, that Cook was dominant, it always swings itself 180 degrees. Martin Miller is on pole position for this race as it's down for Banshee Autosport. And look at Chad Peterson there in the number 37 Broken Arrow car. He, right now, is going to line up alongside him in row number 1, Holgate 3rd, and Chin in 4th.
Very strong showing by Chin in 4th. On the other short ovals, Joshua Chin really hasn't had the qualifying performance he really, I think, would have liked to have had. I'm sure he's going to be very happy with the 4th place right now. But the story in qualifying, Matt Cook right now going to be starting 25th.
Wow, 25th place for Matt Cook. Crazy stuff there. So we've got a couple of minutes left of qualifying, but it looks as though all the drivers have made their qualifying attempts. And Paul Jenkins as well has moved himself up into P7. Brandon Lichtenberg, Joe Branch, Paul Jenkins, Randy Crosno, John Paulzek and Efriarg, they round out your top 10. Not drivers we've always seen at the front end of things, especially from some of those guys at the rear of the top 10. It looks as though Nefriarg has got himself back into gear, a track that last year he loved.
Oh, he enjoyed this track last year, and Nefri's another driver we really can't judge how strong his car is from his qualifying performance. He is always one of those movers through the field. So if things work his way, top 5 or podium, or maybe even better, could be in store for him.
So Martin Miller's brought his car back out onto the racetrack, but he is not doing another timed lap. He is practicing right now, starts and restarts. Just cruising around 65 miles an hour. He's going to drop the hammer, and very good use there of his second qualifying lap, just to see exactly how that car is going to behave at the start of this race for him. So interesting strategy, but a strategy that works. He got that qualifying lap done on his first lap. So he's got that chance then and see how that car is going to work on those first couple of laps just by cruising around for a little bit now.
Yeah, it's always good to have a lap in hand. He got it, so might as well use it. And restarts here, cold tires, we saw it at Phoenix. Oh, did we see it at Phoenix? So many issues on starts, restarts. So getting this experience right now could be a very, very good thing for Martin Miller.
Let's then run through your starting grid for this, the 13th round of the 2013-14 16th Street Racing League, powered by iRaceForLife.org. Starting on pole position in the number 26 Banshee Autosport machine, it is Martin Miller with a time of 22.182 seconds. Chad Peterson from Broken Arrow lines up alongside him in row number 1. Tim Holgate and Josh Chin line up in the second row of the grid. In row number 3 is Brendan Lichtenberg on the inside, Joe Branch on the outside. Row number 4, Paul Jenkins and Randy Crosno. Row 5, John Paulzak and Neff Riag. Row 6, Vic Cordrell and Matt Kingsbury. In row number 7 is Connor Cross and Chuck Eisenbach. Row number 8, Brad Sanford, Mark Schutte. In row number 9, Ray Kingsbury and Terry Mattinson. And then in row 10, Noah McBride and Carrie Bettenhausen. Row number 11, Kevin Kress, David Sockrider. Row number 12, Tim Miller and Eric Davis. And then bringing up the rear of the field in 25th position, Matt Cook in that number 66 car. About as far away as we expected Matt Cook to be from the front. He's going to have to come from the rear to the front in a race, which is always going to be difficult to pass. We talked about it a little bit earlier on. Your rules of racing for today. Banking, it is 2 degrees on the inside line. It is 7 degrees on the outside lane. It goes up 1 degree per lane of banking. Pit road speed is 45 miles an hour. Pace speed is about 65 miles an hour for this race. We'll be going for 170 laps here, and we'll be doing double far restarts because this track is 1 mile and a bit in length. And race temperature right now is 68 degrees Fahrenheit. We have a northerly wind of 2 miles an hour, and the relative humidity, that is 55%. Aaron, we talked about that banking a little bit a moment ago. Really is something that these drivers have to pay attention to because it is not progressive banking, it's stepped banking.
And that on the first lap can create issues. On cold tires, if you get in between 2 lanes, that can really unsettle the car and actually snap the car instantly. So these drivers' first few laps are going to be very, very mindful of it. And as we are now half a lap from green, remember at Pocono 2 weeks ago, we said Matt Cook, when he got that speeding penalty, season over, oh my goodness, all over, he came back. So Matt Cook, used to adversity, used to coming through, so he's got time. He's going to have to play it safe, be patient with these passes. We see typically a lot of incidents here.
Yep, for both Holgate and Chin up front, it is just get that car for those first couple of laps, get yourself into a rhythm. For Matt Cook, arguably, he's got to find a way through that first half of the field as quickly as he possibly can. The iRacing.com first safety car about to make that journey down onto pit road for the first time here today. And here comes Martin Miller about to pick up the pace. Green flag in the air for the 13th round of the championship. And I tell you what, Holgate got a blinding start there. Able to get past Peterson as well as Josh Chin, but Chin gets a little bit sideways there down into turn number 1. Let's have a look and see what's going on in mid-pack because they are 3 abreast right now. Vic Cordrell just having Nefri pass him on the outside line, and then Nefri trying to go down to the inside of Paulzak, wasn't able to get the job done. We got a car on the pit road, and that is Paul Jenkins. So did he jump the start there?
Yeah, I think a car spun the tire mid-pack, and I think he did pass on driver's left, which will necessitate a stop-and-go penalty.
And guess where Matt Cook is after starting this race in 25th? He's all the way up into P14 already and closing down the Kingsbury. That's Matt Kingsbury right now. He is up a total of 12 positions since the start of this race.
Oh, shades of what Tony Kanaan did at Iowa a few years ago.
Car in the wall.
Straight away.
Car in the wall, and that is John Paulzak there in the number 27 car. We will stay green for the time being. John Paulzak out of the race early, and that is one of the things.
We got another driver in the wall, David Sockrider, up on the outside wall. He keeps it forward. I think we're going to stay green if he can get it into the pit. So maybe a 2-car incident there.
Yep, so David Sockrider, his car is done, but he's able to bring it onto pit road. So again, we stay green. And you're right there. Shades of Tony Kanaan at the first part of that race there for Matt Cook. But still crazy racing all over the place right now. And it's so hard to even keep up with what's going on.
Yeah, we just had Nefriog and Randy Krosno bang wheels in turn 3 of the previous lap. Somehow both of them kept it straight, and, well, Nefriog up to 7th, so he is already on the move. But what a start by Matt Cook. Up now to 12th. That
is a crazy start, and that's the sort of thing that if you have the adversity and you're running the championship, you need to have happen to him. But now it's going to get a lot more difficult, and let's not forget, there's a very close pack there. It's almost coming together with Matt Kingsbury as they came out of turn number 2. Working ourselves here on lap number 6 of 170. Martin Miller is already putting that lap in the book, starting lap number 7 right now. Out front, though, he has got Tim Holgate all over the rear. In fact, Holgate looking very good there, and he's going to go down to the inside of Martin Miller, battle for the race lead, and he should try and get that pass start into turn number 3. And you see what he's trying to do there is run that preferred third groove. You've got 5 degrees of banking in that third groove. The cars are majorly set up for that. Holgate didn't lead that lap. He's going to have another go in this time into turn number 1 and 2. This time he gets the job done. But will Miller try and do the cut under? No, he won't. Holgate to the point.
And this is very important for Holgate. If you look at the points right now, really the separation is in bonus points. Holgate needs maximum points. He needs to lead the most laps here. He can't bleed any more points. If he can win this race, he's going to stay in the championship. Should he falter, should he have a mistake like he had at Pocono or Milwaukee, his chances are going to be very, very slim. This is a very, of the 3 championship drivers, I think this is the most critical event for Holgate tonight. And being up front, that's exactly where he needs to be.
So it is now Holgate leading the way from Martin Miller. What actually was able to happen there with those 2 running side by side for a full lap? Josh Chin was able to get back into the draft zone there of those 2 cars in front. He was about 1 second back. That's kind of halved itself now. Chin is 0.6 of a second behind your race leader. Chad Peterson is still hanging on in that 4th position as well. Joe Branch rounds out your top 5, and you have to say for Chin, he's kind of in a really safe position right now. Doesn't have to push. He knows exactly what's going on out front. But at the same time, Chad Peterson isn't giving him too much pressure right now in that number 37 car.
Yeah, Chin this season has been very calm early on. He except for Phoenix where bad luck struck him, on the ovals, he has been really just a cruiser. He hasn't pushed up forward. He really waits to the ladder maybe 10% of the race to finally show his hand. Well, we saw that at Pocono where he just cruised in 3rd, 4th, 5th position, and we had no idea how strong his car was till the end. So right now, I think Chin is exactly where he wants to be. He has Matt Cook behind him. He has Holgate in his sights, and we got a lot of racing left to do tonight.
Yeah, Cook just gets past Randy Krosno there. I think that was just a teammate working with a teammate. Krosno knows that Matt Cook is very fast, knows he's got the championship, and Krosno just allowing his teammate. And the caution out for the first time here today at the conclusion of lap number 13. And that is Terry Mattinson up and upside down. That was a big wreck, and that was actually coming together with his own teammate there, Paul Jenkins, down into turn number 1. Jenkins out the race as well.
Jenkins, you talked about previous weekends where you've said Paul Jenkins just has had no luck, and for Paul Jenkins, if you take a look at his onboard, really there was nothing he could do. Nothing he could do there to avoid that accident. Of course, getting the speeding or the passing under passing before the green didn't help, but in that incident, nothing he could do. And for those 2 drivers, out of the race.
Everyone onto pit road. Will Cook? No, he won't. He'll come in as well. So Cook thinks he's far enough up. He doesn't need to play an alternate strategy, but everyone on pit road, and they're going to make their first pit stop of the day. We were talking before the start of this race that it is a little bit close on some of the fuel numbers. Depending how the final caution, the final pit stop will go, this could become a bit of a fuel race. Everyone nicely into their box. It looks like Holgate is going to get out in front there of Martin Miller. And I'll tell you what, Miller was a little bit slow out of his box there. And also, Joe Branch was able to leapfrog Chad Peterson, getting him up into the 3rd position. Nefriar comes out in P5 there. Josh Chin, your biggest loser, from P3 down into P6.
And another storyline that we're going to see on this restart, we did have 2 drivers decide to play some strategy and stay out. Right now, Niall McBride and Ray Kingsbury stayed out, so that will be your front row unless they come in right now.
So, that is a couple of drivers playing, and we have seen this all season long, drivers playing strategy, and this is the 2 last lap motorsport drivers, Ray Kingsbury in the number 25 car, Niall McBride in the number 41 car. And the way the fuel number is here, it's about 40, anywhere between 39 and 41 laps for a tank of fuel here. The variance is a lot more than what we see at a lot of other racetracks because, of course, you've got to lift into the corners and you can really save or lose a lot of time, like a lot of fuel mileage, depending on how aggressive you are going through these corners and what you're doing with that right foot.
Exactly, and well, I'm going to be really interested to see how the strategy plays out if it does come down to the end. And for Holgate right now, this is where you had a strong car, you were leading. This really, as a driver, sometimes you can get aggravated and push a little bit more. The cars in front of you are going to be lighter on fuel. We saw a big difference with that at Pocono. And for Holgate right now, he's just going to have to accept that he's in 3rd and methodically try to work his way to the lead. He's going to need the most laps led for sure, but at the same time, maybe he could save some fuel behind them. We've seen that all year that the leader burns more fuel, and maybe those 2 cars can push the air and help him save just a little bit, as I think we're going 1 to green.
We are indeed. The lights are off on the pace car at the conclusion of lap number 16. So the restart order will be as follows. Niall McBride from Ray Kingsbury, then Tim Holgate, Martin Miller, Joe Branch, Chad Peterson, Nefriar, Josh Chim, Brandon Lichtenberg and Matt Cook. They are your top 10. Don't forget, it is double fire restarts because we are on a shorter oval. Don't forget, the funniest comedy podcast you can have on iRacing, The Will and Dave Show. It is every Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, live and exclusive, only on Glacier TV. And I tell you what, right now, I'm interested to see how these top 2 drivers are going to handle this restart on slightly worn tyres, because that could be a big difference maker and possibly stack this field right up.
Oh, for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th row, their eyes are going to be wide open going into turn 1, hoping and praying that those front 2 cars stick. And we saw in the first start cars going everywhere down the back straightaway. Let's see if it happens again. We are green.
Green flag,
Back to green flag racing here, and I tell you what, look at the restart again by Holgate. He had some difficulties with this a little bit early on the season.
no!
Back Holgate into the
yellow
wall.
flag is
This
out.
is Tim Holgate's championship done.
Done. Just like that. Oh, that's what I was saying. When you have the unbelievable car, when you have the car that is strong and people stay out, that's what you fear. And that's just what happened. That's probably the championship unless he can sweep the remaining races.
So, let's get ourselves a replay of what happened there. It was Ray Kingsbury on the outside line, and you had Tim Holgate on the inside line. Now, of course, one of the things is on cold tyres, even if you're on the same tyres you started the race with, the tyres cool down. At the start of these runs, it gets very loose. And what did we say at the start of this race, Aaron? If you go from one lane to another into the corner, that car can just slide all the way down the racetrack. That is exactly what happened to Ray Kingsbury there.
Yep, and I sort of wonder if Kingsbury thought that Holgate was going to clear him. I really think Kingsbury, thought Holgate was going to be clear there. That's what it looked like, maybe. Kind of bizarre, but for Tim Holgate, a season, to end like that, he still has a chance. Every time we think we know what's going to happen, something changes, but man, you got to feel bad for Holgate.
Yeah, and that was... It will be classified outside the top 20 in this race. So for Tim Holgate, that really is... And we were talking about as well, worst case scenarios for Holgate is that he had one of the best of the drop weeks of the top 3 drivers. So, I mean, he has that potentially to fall back on. But the races that we've got left in this season, you know, Iowa and then Road America and then Auto Club, it's going to have to be complete and utter domination now by Holgate if he's going to have any chance of getting this championship. Although, what did we say at Milwaukee? And I think, you know, if on a racetrack like this, it really could be a case of Chin and Cook now just having to make sure they bring that car home and trying to make it a 2-horse race.
Yeah, again, every time we've said that we know it's going to happen, something changes. We still have 150 laps to go, and for Chin and Cook, now they got to play almost survival. They're racing each other, but at the same time, they're going to gain a lot of distance on third place. So really, really difficult if you're in those seats now, because for Chin leading Cook right now, he's going to gain points, but maybe he can gain a little bit more points. And for Matt Cook, what a start. What a start, up to 7th. And again, got to go back. So bad for Holgate. That's going to be the story of the weekend, I am sure.
He's livid as well. He is absolutely livid. And we're just getting word from Pit Road that he is incredibly angry at what happened there. And he doesn't think he was at fault there at all. And, of course, you've got to be objective. You know, we've got to be objective in these situations. We know the cars slide around here. And, I mean, yes, it did look as though Kingsbury did come down into turn 1. But at the same time, that car was sliding around. And there's only so much you can do in turn 1 once that car starts sliding around. In many ways, Kingsbury was nothing more than an innocent passenger by the time he hit that apex.
Yeah, once these cars get a little bit sideways, and on cold tires, you're really just at the mercy of the car. If you turn the wheel, if you twitch the wheel just a little bit more, if you lift off the gas and turn at the wrong time, it's going to shoot 2 or 3 lanes on that first lap, and maybe that's what happened. But unfortunately for Holgate, wrong place, wrong time, and that's what strategy can do. And he's not out of this championship, but he's going to have to dominate the next events. But time to move forward. I think we're about to go green.
We are indeed, and just to give you an update, McBride did pit by the look of it, because he's now shown a little bit rearward. It is Martin Miller, who is now scored as your race leader. Joe Branch in 2nd, Chad Peterson in 3rd, Josh Chin in the 4th position. Lights are off on the pace car. Here it comes, back onto pit road. 22 laps going to be scored complete this time by green flag back in the end. I tell you what, Branch was a little bit sluggish on that restart. That allowed Peterson to get past. What it also did is it held up Josh Chin a little bit. And tell you what, Branch is getting right out of the way there. And Chin had a huge wiggle there into turn number 1.
Oh! Matt Cook! Oh my goodness, Matt Cook's championship just took a turn for the worse there. So again on the inside of Joe Branch. Matt Cook, take it easy. He's going to get around, but wow, we just about had another championship contender find issues on a first lap on a restart.
That was one hell of a crazy restart. And Cook was very high there out of turn number 2. That is going to allow the Panther car to go back down to the inside, but no, he decides discretion is the better part of valor there. But these restarts is horrible for these drivers, and I tell you what, we weren't even talking inches, we were talking 1/16 of an inch there between Matt Cook being out of this race, and somehow he was able to keep it going as there were 3 wide out of turn number 2 on that restart. Crazy stuff, but this is why, of all of these racetracks, you want to make sure you kind of always are in the top 5 all race long. And that all really started when Joe Branch had a very slow restart. I think he just wanted to kind of get out of the way, out of the mix a little bit. Then Chin got a little bit sideways into 1. That stuck the field up even more. And, I mean, in those circumstances, there's not really a lot you can do. Out front, though, Peterson is really putting the pressure now onto Martin Miller.
Yeah, the front trio, Miller, Peterson, Chin, they're thinking, okay, you drivers in the 4th, 5th on back, keep having fun, keep going 3 wide. We're just going to cruise, move out, and Peterson right now, really don't know if he is going to make a move. His car really is strong behind Miller right now, and I think Chin, as we've seen all year, very content just to sit and cruise. Right now, championship points-wise, he's gonna gain, so I don't think we'll see Chin make a move unless Peterson or Miller make a huge slip-up.
Yeah, but, right.
And look behind, here comes Nefriog. I think he is closing the gap.
He really is indeed, and I think right now Miller is actually backing up these top 3 drivers and allowing Nefriog and consequently also Matt Cook to close the gap as well. Now, look at how close they are to car 2. In fact, Peterson gets a bit of a wheel there out of that second corner of the racetrack. And one of the things as well, unlike Milwaukee, the transition from the corners to the straight, you actually kind of go uphill into turn number 3 and 4. In fact, here comes Peterson down to the inside. He is going to try and get that pass down over Martin Miller, and they will come out of turn number 2, and it will indeed just be Peterson in front. You can just dive it down into turn 3. He should get clear. He will try and do that. He has to run it all the way down low, and here comes Miller on the outside line. Will Peterson be able to get it at the line? He will lead this lap, and he's almost clear there. In fact, now he will be as they come down into turn number 1, and here comes Josh Chin as well. He wants to have a little piece of that inside line, but he's got to be careful because Miller is incredibly strong traditionally on that outside line. Back down, and a caution is out there. Third caution of the day, and we're setting ourselves up for a great bit of racing. And Kerry Bettenhausen in the 77 car I think that was a single car spin there. I think he just clipped something here. He just spun at low speed there. I think he was trying to get out of the groove or something. Car turn around him, third caution of the day. Bit of a bizarre incident there for Kerry.
Wow, I don't know, maybe it looked like the left rear tire just locked up. That's really what it sort of looked like, a bizarre incident. Typically don't see something like that, but looked like something on the car just broke.
Yeah, I've not seen that in a long time. In fact, I think even if Kerry was to try and do that again, it's pretty much impossible to spin that car the way he did. But our third caution of the day, no other contact, by the way, so he's able to keep on going. No other cars involved, but pit road this time is going to be very busy, and it is Chad Peterson leading him in. Josh Chin was ahead of Martin Miller at the time the caution came out. Vic Cordial stays out by the looks of it on this pit stop, but here they come back onto pit road and nicely into their box for the top 3 drivers there. No issues as the tyres go on. 4 tyres for all of these drivers. Bit of a pogo there for Josh Chin, and he's just behind there. I think that Peterson got it.
And what you got to look out for is that Joshua Chin, through all that, he actually on pit exit drove through the grass. I don't know if that might have created some wing damage. We've seen these wings to be very, very susceptible to grass, and going through the grass there, oh boy.
Yeah, Chin has got a little bit of damage. We'll try and get it from the rear of Peterson's car, but there is a little bit of damage there to the right front plate of his number 93 car. And yeah, Chin, again, just a tiny mistake there. I think he was just a little bit frustrated of the way that car came out of pit road, but Chin now could very easily fall down the pack. We're going to have to keep an eye out to see what happens with Chin, but also Nefriarg up into P3 now. Arg really is moving forward in this race, as it's Eric Davis, who stays out. So Eric Davis is going to get back onto the lead lap. But Vic Cordial did actually pit at the end of that sequence, and he's going to go down to the rear of the field. So Peterson leads, Chin in second, Nefriarg in third. We haven't seen Peterson or Arg really at the front of this front of this field much, but both are very, very good drivers.
Very good drivers, very strong showing, and wow, I'm already almost a little exhausted. We're only 33 laps into this race, Will, and the amount of action we've seen, twists, turns, and we're not even a fourth of the way through this race.
We're not, and I mean, I want to go back to a couple of things. First one is going to be Tim Holgate, because I'll tell you what, Tim Holgate, in my eyes, was having a very good race, mainly because of the fact the one thing he's had issues on this season was restarts. And he was blisteringly good on the 3 restarts that we had in that race before he had that incident with Kingsbury. And that was, I think, something that was going to be hugely encouraging for him, especially late on in the race. But the second thing I wanted to talk about was coming out of the corners here. You see, as they work themselves through turn 2, you actually kind of go downhill a little bit. Then as you come out of turn 4, you actually go uphill a little bit. It's not the same kind of transition as you have at Milwaukee.
Yeah, and that's some drivers will say, oh, on paper they look the same. They have about the same shape, but no, the two are completely different animals. Milwaukee is pretty much straightforward. This track is almost a miniature 1-mile roller coaster with just the odd rise and dips. And speaking of rise and dips, here we go. We're about to go green once again. Cold tires. Let's see how they handle
Green flag,
it.
green
Yeah,
flag.
back to green flag racing here at the Magic Mile. Tell you what, Chin got a very good restart there. Fell right in behind Peterson. Let's see, will he try and go to the race lead through turn number 2? The answer is going to be yes. Peterson gives him a little bit of room there, but Josh Chin, if he can make turn 3, will go to the point. The 93 man Game Days car is back into first position. Nefriark, though, a great run by him. And here comes the crossover. Will Peterson try and get the job done? The answer is going to be not quite. And I think actually for Josh Chin, that was hugely important. But Peterson, a little bit high there through turn 2. That's going to allow Nefriark to go down to his inside into turn 3 and 4.
Nefri is a driver that we've typically seen. He's not one to cruise. If he can get the Chin and can make a pass done, Nefri loves to lead races, and let's see if he has anything for him. It looks like Chin's car really struggling at the center as Nefri really can get the cut off the corner. As now we have Matt Cook going up to the inside for 4th on Joe Branch, and Nefri's going to be to the inside, so close off of 4.
And let's not forget there's that wing damage for Josh Chin. And I was about to say that Chin really wanted to get that lead early because he, of course, with that damage in turbulent air, it's a lot more profound. But Nefriark now to the point. And look at who's here. Matt Cook is trying to make that move down to the inside of Chad Peterson as they come down into turn number 3 and 4. Matt Cook is going to try and get himself up into the 3rd position. A little bit. And I tell you what, in fact, he wasn't aiming to get the job done because Chin was a little bit slow there on that inside line, and so pretty much 2 wide, 2 abreast there.
And another thing, I think that inside line in 3 and 4, and once the tires heat up, I don't think it's as effective. You're going to get a little bit more understeer than you would. Let's see, in front, Chin, and as we saw Peterson on the inside of Chin there, same thing. Once the tires heat up a little bit, the inside pass in 3 and 4, I don't think is as effective as 1 and 2.
Yeah,
and Matt Cook on the outside.
Wow, Matt Cook is going to try and make that pass on the outside. Now, we have seen people being able to do it. You have to kind of pinch the car down a little bit, but all the way in the 4th grid, he gets the job done. What a move there by Matt Cook in that number 66 car, and now he's hounding on the rear of Josh Chin, who is a little bit wounded, however, so let's see whether Cook can make easy work there, that number 93 car. And I tell you what, I think within 2 laps, Matt Cook might be up into P2 in this race.
Oh, wow. At the start of the race, I said Matt Cook's just going to have to take it easy, be methodical, work his way up slowly, and from starting 25th, we're on lap 43, and here he goes to the inside. Move Cook to P2, at least for the moment. Yes.
Yes, he is. And now let's not forget, Josh Chin has got a bonus point for leading this race at some point. Matt Cook hasn't yet got a bonus point. However, he is about 9/10 of a second behind Nefriark. Can he get past Nefri? He'll be leading laps, and then it'll all come down to who can lead the most laps between these drivers in this race. And that, we talked about this earlier on, bonus points are going to be the difference maker from here on in. So whoever gets those bonus points when we come down to Auto Club, Aaron, it really could be critical.
Oh, absolutely critical. Right now, I think the gap is, 3-4 points between Chin and Cook, or Cook and Chin. That comes down to bonus points. Joshua Chin on the road courses has been so good getting the maximum points available, much more than Cook has. Cook does have wins, but he doesn't have those 56-point races where you get the maximum amount of points. And for Chin right now, he's got to be careful. Chad Peterson's car, I think, is faster. And look at the line of cars behind Joshua Chin right now. 5 cars behind him. So for Chin right now, I think he is really wanting a yellow to get, as we've seen cars pit every yellow, I think he's really wanting a yellow to get that wing replaced. If not, he could be going backwards. Of course, he wants the yellow, but he doesn't want to be the yellow.
Indeed, and I'll tell you what, he's been very efficient at keeping Chad Peterson on that inside line. And that Broken Arrow V Apex car isn't really handling down well on those bottom 2 lines. However, I think Peterson might want to try running it on the outside line if he gets the opportunity, because of course Chin really does struggle down on that bottom side of the racetrack right now. And here, maybe it won't come another chance for Peterson in a lap or so. However, out front, Matt Cook has closed that gap between himself and Nefriark down to just 0.6 of a second on the racetrack, as here comes Peterson once again down to the inside. Will he be able to get the job done in turn 3 and 4? The answer is going to be, again, almost there for Chad Peterson. If he can get the run out of 4, this is his best opportunity. Now, if he can just dive it into 1 and Chin lets him go past, Peterson back up into the 3rd position on the racetrack.
Very wise choice by Joshua Chin. Peterson showing lots of respect to Chin. Peterson fully aware of where Chin sits in the championship. Peterson, I think, could have forced the issue a little bit harder, a little bit sooner, but very methodical, very clean. And for Chin backing out there, wise choice. But now he has 4 more cars behind him that want the position he's in. As, a little bit of contact behind Matt Kingsbury. Martin Miller had a little bit of coming together. Surprised we didn't get a car turned around there.
Indeed, and I tell you what, some very tight racing is now. Brandon Lichtenberg is going to try and make that move on Josh Chin. Not quite close enough this time, but we'll keep an eye out on that battle on the racetrack. Of course, one driver who is taking no further part in today's proceedings is Tim Holgate. Now, Tim, it was a really good start to the day. Really good on restarts. However, it was just that trying to inside, squirty tyres, call it what you will, on that restart there, which really has now made the championship a very, very tough challenger here on in.
Well, it's a long race to go. We'll have to see what happens to the other guys who are up front. But yeah, it's a disappointment to be up here in the booth watching the race rather than driving from the front.
And, I mean, it did look as though you struggled a little bit in practice, but it all came together in qualifying. Qualified P3, were able to get the lead of the race early. Just take us through what happened on that actual restart, from your opinion.
Well, there was a couple of guys who didn't have the pace to be leading, and obviously they didn't have the experience to understand where the racing line here is, because he dove down from the outside, assuming that I was going to be up against the yellow, which anybody who drives here knows that you can't drive a fast car down to that yellow line. The camber of the track just changes too much, and you get way too loose. And I think he assumed I was going to be down further than I was. And, I had a little bit of wiggle. You always have a bit of a wiggle, but I stayed within that second groove of the racetrack, which is basically the bottom groove where you can run, and, it came down on me. So there's not really a whole lot to say. The replay shows it pretty clearly. Ended my race. Might have ended my championship, but you never give up until the end. So we're going to take it on to the next race.
Never give up until the end. By the way, very quickly, Josh Chin under attack from Joe Branch right now. And this really is difficult with that front wing damage to Chin right now. He's losing a lot of time to the guys out front, and also losing positions to Brendan Lichtenberg, as he's been able to get past in the last couple of laps or so. And Joe Branch putting the pressure on in that number 4 Panther racing car as well right now. Very quickly, Tim, before we get back to commentary, what do you think is going to happen in the next 3 races? Of course, 3 different racetracks: Iowa, Road America, and Auto Club to finish off our season. Can you claw back many points, do you think, in those tracks?
Well, it really depends on the luck of the other drivers. If we continue to finish 1, 2, 3, or in whatever order, then it's not going to make a huge difference. I think Matt has the best opportunity at this point to win the championship, just because of the number of oval races remaining versus the number of road courses remaining. But anybody gets in the race like I did today, it turns everything on its head.
Caution is out, and yeah, it was Connor Cross there and Kevin Kress who came together out of turn number 4. Now, they were running 2 wide, 2 deep there. Looks as though Kress just got himself loose on that inside line, Aaron, and Connor Cross out of the race as well, as those 2 came together out of 4.
Yeah, I think that was reactionary from Kevin. Slow car was on the bottom lane in front, and they sort of just started crisscrossing in front of him. I think he lifted off the gas just a little bit too much, which got him down on the flat, and around he went. And for those 2 drivers, their race is over, and Joshua Chin gets that much-needed yellow.
And as we're back behind the iRacing.com first safety car, let's not forget, Aaron, at one point, this inside line wasn't really even part of the racetrack. It was pretty much the apron of the racetrack as all these cars come onto pit road. It was only in kind of recent years that they really paved that and made it the first line of the racetrack. It always has been in real life racing, both NASCAR and IndyCar. Very difficult to run on that bottom line.
Very difficult, as we just saw. If you get onto that bottom, and that's what's so difficult for a lot of drivers to understand here. Most tracks, you want to hug the bottom, get on that yellow line. Here, that's not the case. That's the flattest part of the racetrack, and if your setup is made for the second or third groove, you get into that bottom, and you are just going to snap spin instantly.
Wow, it was Nefriar getting out of pit road first, Brendan Lichtenberg second, Matt Cook third, Peterson fourth, Joe Branch, Martin Miller, Josh Chin, Brad Sanford, they are your top 10. What a pit stop there by Brendan Lichtenberg, fourth up into P2.
Oh, absolutely. He's having a very strong showing today, and he will be starting outside. Plus, we do have Matt Kingsbury, who stayed out. He is on the lead lap. Let's see if he comes in this time or not. If not, that will relegate Nefriag to restarting second, and Kingsbury is gonna stay out.
Yep, and let's not forget the last lap Motorsports did do this a little bit earlier on in the race. Two of their drivers stayed out. Now, the fuel window here, the way it all works, a lot of calculations are going to have to go on here because as of all short track racing, the last thing you're going to want to do is pit under green at the end of this race. And some of these guys are already working backwards. With only 110 laps to go in this race, they're already thinking, okay, what do I need to do to get myself into position come the end of this race?
Yeah, and as you said, pitting under green, disastrous. So, and I think that's why we've really seen every yellow early on in the race. We had a 13-lap run, everybody pitted. So, I think that's going to be the trend. And again, Cook and Chin, we've seen them all year really be fuel savers. But for Chin right now, he's going to be restarting. Wow, he's currently scored P9, so he's going to have some. He's going to have some work on his hands now.
But he's able to get that front wing replaced on the pit stop. I think that's going to be important for him. And I think also that
Kingsbury in.
Kingsbury does come in, so maybe he was just not wanting to get in the way of the leaders too much. We do know how worn tires can be on restarts here, so Kingsbury does come in. But I'm kind of confused by that strategy, to be fair, because all he's done now is he's dropped himself to the end of the lead lap. He's going to be scored P18, P17 even, starting from the rear of the field almost.
Well, should it work out somehow that we go green the rest of the way and those 2 extra laps that he did is the difference, then all the power to him, but that's a big gamble.
Although, wouldn't he get a black flag for pitting this late? Because you can't pit...
Oh.
Pit road is closed with 2 laps to go.
Very good point there. We'll have to see what race control does and see if they do let that move stand, or you're right, typically for lead lap cars that don't pit, the pits become closed on 2 laps to green.
So, the iRacing.com first safety car is going to make its journey back onto pit road here. Couple of cautions in the early going. We're about a third of the way through this race. Pace car is in. Nefriar restarting from the front. A good restart there by Cook as he goes immediately into P2. But what a restart there by Nefriar as the cars all storm back down into turn number 1.
This is where we've had issues before, and Joe Branch gets on the apron, and Chin, did they make contact? They might have made contact, Will.
I think they might have done. We'll try and get ourselves a replay of that in a moment. But Chin going on the outside there of Randy Crosno. And I tell you what, they were 3 wide into turn 1. How Joe Branch didn't face...
Big crash on the front straightaway. Crosno and Branch.
Huge with Joe Branch and Randy Crosno involved with that. Caution is back out. But this is going to become a race of attrition. And it did seem to be that Joe Branch's car was loose in turn 3 and 4 there. It just looks like that car dived. It just had a big wiggle there coming out of the corner. Crosno trying to hold up the inside line. The 2 came together. But Joe Branch, I had to say, in turn 1, how he kept that car going, I had no idea. It just didn't work out for him in turn 3 and 4. And what was a very good run for Joe Branch ends in tears for him. And also Randy Crosno. His kind of up and down luck in 16th Street continues once again.
Crosno, if you want to know where an incident is, just look at where Randy Crosno's been. That's been about the story of his season. Joe Branch's car really, every restart and on the original start, did not like cold tires. Almost got Joshua Chin. Gonna have to see if he actually did make contact or if Josh Chin got away with that, but unfortunate for Crosno yet again.
Well, this race, it really is now becoming a race of attrition. And for both Matt Cook and Josh Chin, they have been inches away from their race being over. and they have been incredibly lucky so far. I tell you what, they must have some rabbit's foot or something going on right now, because that very easily could have gone the wrong way for Chin on that last restart and Matt Cook earlier on. Of course, we are talking about these two drivers a lot more than we would normally, but with just 3 rounds of the championship left to go, we have got to think about that championship quite a lot now, because really it's arguably still a 3-horse race realistically right now, about a 2.5 car race.
Yes, it is. But at the rate that we've had close calls, I don't know what we can say. All 3 are still in it. As many bullets as Cook and Chin have avoided so far. And I would say every restart, these tires, it is so hard to get the power down on these restarts. It's very much like the, as you mentioned at the start, the 2011 IndyCar race here with the mist falling. It is almost that slick on that original lap for these cars and for these drivers. So every restart is a bullet for Cook and Chin to avoid.
And even I was thinking back to the start of that 2011 race, these cars were very loose there. I remember you had that one car who ended up pretty much slamming into the potty at one point as well. Coming out of turn 2. Yeah, TK coming out of turn 2. That car was just so loose there. And it is all the way down to the fact that people forget 2 degrees of banking on that inside line is not a lot at all, really. And even on the top, 7 degrees of banking, it is the flattest track that we go to in this season. In fact, there's some corners at Watkins Glen with more banking than you have here at New Hampshire.
Yeah, that's a very good illustration. A road course more banked than the bottom side of this oval, and that's again what can make it so tricky. These cars are set up for the fastest line, the banking. So when you get down there, the car does not like that. If you ever want to experience that, put a road course setup and try to run a big oval and see how it likes the banking. It's just not going to like it. It works the same way the other way too. As we are going to get the 1 to go this time. We have talked a lot about Chin and Cook, but right now Kerry Bettenhausen, great run running 8th, Brad Sanford 9th, Chuck Eisenbarth 10th. So a lot of people having good runs so far. Nefriog though having the best, our leader, and he'll lead us to green once again.
Yeah, the 04 Panther racing car of Nefriog still leads the way. We have got 14 cars scored in the lead lap. In fact, just 14 cars running still in this race. A high level of attrition. John Porzek is out of the race. He was the car who came out of turn 2, got loose, slammed it into the inside guardrail. David Tockrider out of the race. Paul Jenkins, Terry Mattinson, they were, of course, with the first caution of the day. Tim Holgate, of course, had that incident with Ray Kingsbury on the restart, which put both of them out of the race. Tim Miller, Connor Cross, Kevin Crest, Randy Cosno, Giant Branch are also out of this race. And with the high level of attrition we've had so far in this race, I think we might get a bit of a green flag feel in the next 5 to 10 laps, if they can all make it through this restart. And I tell you what, Cook's going to be careful here, because he might get himself a bit of a black flag if he doesn't get going. And Nefriog there, playing a little bit of mind games with Matt Cook. I'm interested to see whether Cook gets a black flag for that, because that is a mighty, mighty close.
Mighty close, but what a restart by Joshua Chin. He might be in P3 as he goes to the inside, a little bit loose there. But what a restart on cold tires. That might be one of the best restarts I've seen, as Matt Cook now goes to the inside on Nefri for the lead in 1. Not going to be able to get it done this time.
Indeed, it won't be. And keep an eye out on the line that Nefriog runs, because he generally runs the 3rd lane on the racetrack. You'll see it very here as they come down into turn 3 and 4. He kind of diamonds off the corner a little bit. He'll come down into the 2nd lane as here comes Matt Cook, back down to the inside into turn number 1. Will he be able to get the job done this time by on that 2nd lane? He's having to dip it a little bit down there. Oh, contact almost between those 2 cars. They did touch a little bit there. Nefriog slowing right down. And that was almost a game changer once again. The field is swamped right up now. And Nefriog down into P4. But Matt Cook somehow just able to get that lead. And somehow we stay green there.
And I think Nefri's car is a little bit wounded. Gonna be interested to see if Matt Cook has a little bit of damage. I saw Nefri sort of wiggling his car, trying to feel it out. So, oh man. And if those two would have got together and would have spun, I don't know if Joshua Chin would have had anywhere to go there. So, again, the the rabbit's feet that they have. Wow, I think I want to get me one of those. Wow.
I tell you what, yeah, you're right. Those top 5 cars would have been easily out of the race unless one of them would have been trying to swerve somehow onto the grass, some way, just getting out of the way. But Nefriarch is still hounding, so he's not seemed to have had that much damage. Cook is still leading. He would have been called onto pit road by now had he have had to serve a black flag there. So it looks as though he got away with that one, but that restart, we have to say, was really close, and of course it's leader's prerogative when they want to go. And I think Nefri could see that tip of the front nose of Matt Cook was ahead at the point that the pace car pulled in. I think he just wanted to wait as long as possible to try and get the jump, but the lights came on there, and the mind game continued between those two drivers.
Yeah, when you're the leader, it can become very frustrating when the car on the outside is actually ahead of you. So that's usually what will happen. Leader can get just a little aggravated and just not go, and you have the mindset of, okay, you want to be in front of me? Be my guest, have a black flag.
And Nefriarch working right now on the inside of Josh Chin. Not able to get the job done, though, down into turn 1 and 2. He'll try again down into turn 3 and 4. This time a little bit better on that second line of the racetrack. But it does seem to be one of the issues that Nefri has had is that he likes diamonding off that corner, enter in the third lane, then come down into the second, then come back up. Just seems to be that when he has to run the second lane all the way, as he got really loose there, as he hit that first lane of the racetrack, that's going to allow Brendan Lichtenberg to go past. Nefri does not like the bottom 2 lanes of this racetrack that much, but he's able to hold it on the 4th lane and go back down the outside there, Lichtenberg.
And I think Nefri also might be a little hot under the collar with that contact. I really think I think Nefri's on a mission now. I don't think he really enjoyed that contact. That's why he was really hounding Joshua Chin, which Chin there, very fortunate, gave plenty of room. I think Nefri really wants to get back up to the lead, which right now gonna be a little bit of work. I don't think that car is as strong as it was.
But out front, Matt Cook, after qualifying this race in the 25th position, is now up, leading this race by a second over Chad Peterson. And Peterson were a little bit looser out of 3 and 4. That will put the gap now at 1.1 seconds on the racetrack. But what a race this has been so far for all of these drivers. Who's still running?
They are still running. We aren't even halfway yet. We're 5 laps away from the halfway mark. But Matt Cook right now, who would have thought that before halfway he would be the leader? He started last, and now he is our leader, and not only leading, but leading, pulling away. Almost 1.2 seconds now between him and Peterson.
Martin Miller trying to make a move on Brendan Lichtenberg. In fact, Lichtenberg has got a little bit of front wing damage, but also so has Martin Miller. And I tell you what, I think this is becoming a little bit like the IndyCar version of Darlington, because in many ways, a lot of these cars are not in the same shape as when they started. You know, they have Darlington stripes over in NASCAR. I think we've got the New Hampshire wings going on right now at this racetrack.
Yeah, and a little bit more contact than what we're used to seeing, and not only contact, but we've seen lots of contact that involve cars staying in the race. Yeah, we've had contact with cars being absolutely obliterated out of the race, but Cook and Nefri, that could have been devastating to both drivers, and we've had other contact mid-pack. Right now, I would say if you finish this race, you have something to be proud of.
So, these guys still hound it on the racetrack. We have got a bit of separation now between some of these drivers. And I did say, with now only really 14 cars scored in this race running, that we are going to get a bit more of a green flag feel to it. The fuel window, by the way, anywhere between 39 and 41 laps in this race. And we haven't had a green flag pit stop yet, as Martin Miller right on the rear of Brendan Lichtenberg, 3, 3, and 4. But I think this is that time now where we get into that kind of middle phase of the race. Everyone kind of calms down a little bit, realize what their priorities are, as Miller does get a better run out of turn 2, but very loose out of the corner, actually. And that's not going to give him the line he would have wanted, per se, into 3 and 4. And again, he really doesn't like those 2 inside lanes at all.
No, he's giving lots of room. Might be giving a little bit too much room in 3. He's getting almost down into that first lane, and as soon as he hits that lane, it's almost like the brakes come on. The car just starts to plow, and he has to get out of the gas, and all the momentum is lost. Going to green flag pit stops, Will. One thing, oftentimes we talk about pit entry. In warm-up, I don't know I lost count of how many cars lost it exiting the pits here on cold tires. If you think we've seen lots of cars dicing on the restarts, try doing that on the apron. So if we have green flag pit stops, don't be surprised if somebody really, really has a horrible pit exit that might involve a few extra bystanders.
And the gap between Cook and Peterson is now up to 1.8 seconds on the racetrack. We've got to come back to that discussion as well over bonus points, because Hamphire has led quite a lot of laps in this race. Josh Chin's led a handful of laps, but if this race carries on green, the way that Cook is driving, he might get those bonus points. And what that will do is it will halve the gap automatically between himself and Josh Chin, and coming out of this race, it will be back to advantage Cook in the championship as lap traffic coming into play now. Now McBride and Hamphire almost had it coming together out to turn number 2.
Yeah, working lap traffic can be an issue, especially when you have to run a lane you are not used to. Can catch you off guard. Thankfully, right there, everybody gets away with it. Going back to green flag pit stops, do you think Matt Cook's team is going to tell him, Matt, remember Pocono, don't speed?
Don't speed. I think that's the one thing. And pit in lap times, by the way, if you can get anything sub 31 seconds as your pit in lap, then you really are on the money. One of the issues is, though, the way that these cars are set up for this racetrack and the way they come from the bank to the flat section, as Miller is able to go past Lichtenberg as he gets a little bit wiggly out of turn number 2. You'll see a lot of drivers locking up here, more than you do on quite a lot of racetrack. And also, really, you have to use the apron in turn 3 and 4 if you want to get that car safely onto pit road. The Daredevils will try and pit off turn 4, however.
And I think that's right now why Matt Cook is almost hot lapping it. He needs to put as big of a gap as possible so he can have a conservative entry. At Indy, he almost hit the end of the pit wall on one of the pit entries. Pocono, he got the speeding penalty. So pit entry under green for Matt Cook has been an adventure all year. So right now, build up a lead so you don't have to really risk anything.
So your top 5 right now is Cook from Peterson, from Chin, from Nefri, from Martin Miller. As we are about just over halfway through this race now, and Hamphire got very close to the wall there, out of turn number 4 on this racetrack, and it keeps on changing over the course of a fuel run, Aaron. These cars will change in the way that they're basically the cars are going to handle. Some of them will get a little bit looser over the fuel run. Some of them will get a little bit tighter over the course of a fuel run. However, overall, it does kind of balance itself out. That over the full run, you'll have all these cars kind of come back together. One of the drivers who I think really is suffering right now, though, is Hamphire. Ever since he had that moment, I don't see any visible damage, but he really has not had the same kind of speed as he had earlier on in this run.
No, the contact was wheel to wheel, so I really think there might be some tie rod damage there. Maybe just bent the suspension just a little bit. It doesn't take much now. Just you really can't get away with contact the way you used to in the IndyCar series. We've seen cars in the past maybe, white wall the wall and get away with it. Now it doesn't work that way. That contact can bend the sort of toe it in or toe it out just a little bit, and there is no getting it back. And I think for Nefri, that car really looks a lot tighter than it was before the contact. That car really was floating beautifully through the corners. Now it looks really struggling. Center off. Entry still looks the same, but center off just seems to just want to just plow into that outside wall.
Time to run through the field, powered by iRaceForLife.org. Matt Cook now leads away by 2.6 seconds over Chad Peterson. This is a guy, Aaron, who came from P25 to lead this race, and ever since he's got out front, it's back to the Matt Cook that we know and love.
Yeah, right now there is no denying if there was a nomination for, well, only one nominee for the drive of the race. That would obviously be Matt Cook, 25th to 1st. Unbelievable. That's all you can say, unbelievable. The fact that he moved up, 11, 12 spots in one lap. Very Tony Kanaan-like, so great drive so far for Matt Cook. Coming up, he's going to have to nail his pit stops. That's been a weakness in this game, so he's got the lead. He doesn't need to risk anything.
Chad Peterson runs in the second position right now, 2.8 seconds behind Cook. However, 1.4 seconds ahead of Joshua Chin. Now the V-Apex, a broken aero car, it's kind of had a bit of an up and down season, but it does seem to be that Peterson loves this racetrack, and he's not been out of the top 5 since the drop of the green flag.
Perhaps the most consistent performer of the race. Yeah, absolutely. Peterson having a good run. Really surprised he's lost this much ground to Cook. Cook's car might just be that good. Peterson, though, losing ground, but still a great run, second place, and you can really make up a lot of time on pit stop, so don't count him out.
Josh Chin right now runs in that third position. Now, for Josh Chin, his race has always been over about 3 times in this race. He has been able to keep it going in that number 93 car, running the Solstice skin here today, not the Minor Game Days car. However, I think right now, being in P3, knowing that Matt Cook was likely to be dominant, I don't think he's going to be too upset with that, especially when you consider he's led laps. He's still going to get himself a pretty good points haul.
Yeah, for Chen, the mile oval at Phoenix was a disaster, to put it lightly. Running third right now with as many near misses as he's had. Really, if we can make a montage of all his close calls, the fact that he is still in this race is nothing short of a miracle for sure.
Nefriarg is rebounded up into P4. Now, he did lead a lot of laps early on in this race. He has been really good on starts and restarts. I am thinking he probably just wants to get himself on pit road, see whether he needs to get himself a new front wing, and then we might see the same Nefriarg we had in the first third of this race, because really, one of the best performances he's had since Homestead.
Yeah, and also his Indy run, quite good, but ever since the contact, his car really just not what it has been. Maybe it's wing damage, maybe it could be a little bit of suspension damage. Pit road is definitely where he's going to want to be. Green flag pit stops, though, he's not going to be able to close in should we get those. He's currently 5.5 seconds behind our race leader, but if the damage can be fixed after the pit stop, expect his car to return to full song.
Josh Chin coming onto pit road. I believe that might be Matt Cook also on pit road here. Chad Peterson and Matt Cook all onto pit road. So, 3 of your top 4 guys are pitting at the same time. Let's see whether they can all get good pit stops. It was a 31.2 in lap for Matt Cook, a 31.3 for Josh Chin. Chad Peterson has got a speeding penalty, we believe. Chad Peterson there with a speeding penalty.
Oh, and that's been a story all season. Good runs spoiled by speeding penalties. And if it's 15 seconds, that's almost a lap here. Let's see how long they hold them.
It will be 15 seconds, and that is catastrophic there for arguably the second best, easily the second best car we've had over a long fuel run. But that's horrible there for Chad Peterson, as Martin Miller, I think Miller might get himself a speeding penalty there as well as he comes onto pit road. It's 45 miles an hour, the pit road speed here. Nefriarg has just pitted. He is back out and away on the racetrack. It was a slow in lap for Nefriarg, 32.0, so almost a second slower than the guys who are running out front around him. For Martin Miller, he was able to get in, and look at that in lap, 30.5. That is by far the fastest in lap we've had.
Oh, flying on pit entry now. Gotta nail the pit exit. So easy to light up the rear tires and spin around, but good pit. Oh, he got on the transition there for Miller, and it almost wanted to come around. But that speeding penalty, it's really going to benefit Joshua Chin. Those points between second and third, big. So for Joshua Chin, one person's misfortune could have championship implications when we get down to the final lap at Auto Club.
So, it is currently Mark Shooter who is leading the race. Technically, however, he is on pit road, and he will give the race lead back to Matt Cook. 110 out of 170 laps scored complete in this race it is now going to be Matt Cook from Josh Chin, from Martin Miller, from Nefriag, Brandon Lichtenberg. They are going to be your top 5. However, look at the gap from Matt Cook to Josh Chin. 4 seconds on the racetrack. And also Martin Miller right on the rear right now of Josh Chin.
Martin Miller, great in-lap, and his speed is continuing. And behind him, we do have Nefri Og. Still seems to be pushing. I don't think that car is the same that it was. We'll see if Chin and Miller can pull away just a little bit. For Nefri, though, he's going to want to stay in touch, and Miller's going to go to the inside for second. Let's see if he can get it done on the inside. His car hasn't liked the inside. Ooh.
Very close between those two drivers, and it does look as though Chin is going to get a better drive out of the corner. Whether that will keep him clear, indeed it will. Miller has just struggled on that inside line all race long, and it's one of those things, in fact, it's kind of reminiscent to me of what the 2013 ISOWC Indy 500 was like. Martin Miller just doesn't seem to be able to get that car working on inside lines recently, and at the ISOWC Indy 500, of course, that really set up the move for Young O to go from P3 to P1 in that course of 1 lap. And Miller's inside line driving again here at New Hampshire is struggling. That could just be, though, him giving a lot of respect to Josh Chin. Of course, you don't want to be that guy who takes out the championship leader.
Nobody wants to be that guy. That is definitely for sure. Miller, though, he did qualify on pole, and sometimes setup-wise, your car might only like one place, and of course, when you make a pass, you can't go if they're in your preferred line. You can't go through them. You have to run another line, and I don't know. Maybe that's something that Martin Miller's setup team. Cars, he's going to look to the inside once again. Now, 1 and 2 seems to work a little better. Guys, can he stay there? He's not just, no. So, yeah, I think Miller's car just, if he can run his line, one of the fastest cars, but you just can't go through a person if they're on your line. You got to run where they're not.
And Miller stays in that 3rd position. What this is doing is it's allowing Nefriag to catch back up to these drivers. By the way, we still have 10 cars scored on the lead lap. Chad Peterson is the last of those 10 drivers. He has currently scored 19 seconds behind Matt Cook, your race leader. So for Peterson right now, it is a case of finding a way to stay on that lead lap. And he's only 3 seconds up the road from Cook right now. So the guy who's running P2 in this race, and who's very good at the start of the run, now is really hoping for a caution as Martin Miller almost gets run over there by Nefriag in turn number 1 and 2. Nefriag has got a little bit of front wing damage. I'm not sure whether that came from this run or earlier on in the race, but Nefriag, let's not forget, still in the mix here, and I think he wants to try and find a way past these two drivers, because I think right now Chin is holding up both Martin Miller and Nefriag just a little bit. We have got to bear in mind, however, that a fuel strategy window, perhaps Chin is saving a lap or so of fuel. I'm just having a look to see when they pitted, the laps that they actually all pitted on, and it was like 107 there for Nefriag, who's one of the last of the leaders to come on pit road, and they should just be good to go on one more pit stop. However, they want to save as much fuel as possible, as here comes Nefriag down to the inside.
Good move by Nefri. I think Chin got a little bit tight, and it seemed Martin Miller just followed Chin's tire tracks and moved Nefri to 3rd for now. Here comes Martin Miller on the outside, so it's not going to be able to get done. Or maybe not. Nefri's car on the inside seems to be a little bit better. Oh, what a run by Nefri on the inside out of turn 2. He might have this pass clear. Almost a slide job you got to do there, but...
Yep.
Yes,
almost.
Crossover?
No, but no crossover there. And now Nefriag up into P3 once again. He's going to try and close down Josh Chin now. Now, let's not forget that Nefri's car earlier on in this race wasn't working very well on that bottom line, so he may be using those in-car tools. As we always say on these broadcasts, they've got the anti-roll bar, both front and rear, and also the weight jacket, which is basically a lever, which they can use to raise or lower the right rear of the car. And it does seem to be that over the course of this race, Nefri's either been using the in-car tools or getting himself some wing adjustments or tire pressure adjustments on these pit stops.
And, yeah, Nefri, though, has made the pass, which, since then, Joshua Chin has pulled away just a little bit. And before Nefry got around Miller, I wanted to say that for Chin, he's got to be really careful because I think the two drivers behind him are both frustrated. Martin Miller obviously was on pole, one of the fastest cars here, just can't get around. And Nefry, I think ever since that contact, I just think he was leading. It's been a while since he's got a race win here in the 16th Street League, so I think he really, really, really wants it. But for Chin, he's got to keep that in mind that he has two very hungry drivers behind him.
Indeed, two very hungry drivers, but it all comes down to what I've been saying ever since mid-season, big picture racing. And Chin, of course, won last Tuesday at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Unfortunately, we didn't bring that to you. A little game of football or something was going on last Sunday, which postponed the race a couple of days. Chin did win at Mid-Ohio, which put him back to the championship lead. We have only got one road course left, of course, of the three remaining races. And then we've got Iowa, which I don't really call a short track over. It's more of a bull ring than anything. And then Auto Club to complete our season. As here comes Nefry. He's going to try and look down to the inside in turn one. Contact and rear wing damage there for Josh Chin.
Oh my, what a turn of events now for Chin. He's going to be frustrated now. He cannot let that, and that car looks a little skittish, a little loose in the rear. Wow, another bullet dodged as that rear wing damage is broken, and you can't replace rear wings. So for the rest of this race, Joshua Chin is going to be wounded.
And here comes Martin Miller. He comes down and completes that pass on Josh Chin. And look at how Chin is really in survival mode right now. And I have to say for Nefry, I haven't seen a move like that since I last watched a NASCAR race at Bristol.
The term bump and run in IndyCar, I really don't know if that's an appropriate term. I know Joshua Chin, he is going to be very frustrated at that move. And that's why I was saying big picture racing, Nefry had that contact. He's wanting to go now. He wasn't going to wait. You don't want to let second place go by, but as soon as Nefry dove in, you knew he was going to go for it.
So your top five as it stands, it's Matt Cook from Nefry Yard, from Martin Miller, from Brandon Lichtenberg, from Josh Chin. Remainder of your top 10, Vic Caldwell, Brad Sanford, Matt Kingsbury, Chad Peterson, and Kerry Bettenhausen. Bettenhausen is still scored on the lead lap, but Matt Cook is only about 1 second behind him right now. In fact, Bettenhausen coming on pit road this time by. Peterson has been able to keep himself on the lead lap. He's lost about a second, however, on this run so far to Matt Cook. So, I'll tell you what, give it about 5 or 6 laps. Peterson could go a lap down here.
And I think once Cook gets to him, Peterson is going to do everything he can to stay on the lead lap. I don't think he's going to just give it to Matt Cook. Matt Cook does have a big lead, so it's not like he's going to be disturbing the battle for the race lead, because should the really unlikely event we get a yellow, he'll stay on the lead lap, and his car is strong enough to get back up to the podium, so he really can't afford to go that lap down.
And with only 9 cars currently scored on the lead lap, it'll be a little bit like the 2009 Richmond race, where, so few cars in the lead lap means you're guaranteed a good finish. Kerry Bettenhausen brings his car back onto pit road, and then Lichtenberg going around the outside of him into turn number 3 and 4. For Josh Chin, by the way, to give you an update on his lap times, he's running 22.6s early on in this race. He is slowed down by about 2 to 3 tenths of a second a lap compared to what he was doing earlier. He has been able to get it under control for the time being, however, and you can say arguably it's not as much of a disadvantage having damage here than at some tracks. However, you've really got to have a good balance on this race car, and it all comes down to confidence. If you've got a confidence in the car that you have underneath you, you can go a tenth of a second faster. And for Chin right now, he's just kind of seeing where he can push it. Of course, in the race pace, with 35 laps to go, you don't want to push it too far, because those walls, as we saw with Kerry Bettenhausen earlier, really can come up with you very, very quickly.
Very quickly indeed. And for Chin, I think he has made a lot of onboard adjustments. That car very, very loose with that rear wing damage. And for Chin, and for essentially all of our competitors in the top 3 in the championship, how many points have we seen lost due to mistakes, or just minor mistakes by either themselves or somebody else? For Chin, the difference between 2nd and 5th place points at this point is huge, as at this rate, Vic Caudle will catch Chin by the end of this race, so a top 5 now isn't guaranteed for Joshua Chin, and should we get a yellow and everybody gets bunched up, really, he might be the last car in the lead lap.
Indeed, and I think for Josh Chin right now, the last thing he wants is that caution. We have got ourselves about 33 laps to go in this race. We are at the Magic Mile, New Hampshire Motor Speedway in Loudon. Will Vinson, along with Aaron Likens here on iRacing Brazil. Don't forget, next Sunday, we'll head over to the bull ring of Iowa Speedway, where there will just be 3 rounds of the championship remaining. And Aaron, we'll, of course, always look forward to what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. 3 very different racetracks in Iowa, the first one of them. Really, you've got to pay attention to that bump in turn number 1.
Oh, the bump. And that bump, if tempers here at Loudon today have been high, Iowa oftentimes going to be a little bit higher, especially with that bump. You can go in side by side into turn 1. The car on the inside hits the bump, shoots up half a groove. Both cars out of the race, both drivers angry at each other. So I think the tempers, the intensity we've seen here today, might see a little bit more and then some come next week at Iowa.
The gap, by the way, between Cook and Peterson has closed down to about a second on the racetrack. And Peterson's actually trying to make a pass right now on Matt Kingsbury. And they come very close together through turn number 3 and 4. Peterson is going to get the job done out of turn number 3. He will get alongside. If you're Matt Cook right now, you're thinking, please, don't crash.
Don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. I'm sure Cook's foot is firmly on the brake pedal just if the case may arise that it will be needed. And this, when you're a race leader, as I think Kingsbury's coming into the pits, yes, he is. But when you have a race going this perfect, when you have a race where you started last and you have a 8-second lead on second place, you're holding your breath. It's too good to be true. What's going to happen? What's going to break? Who's going to spin in front of me? That's what can start going through your mind. And right now, how hard is he going to want to fight Chad Peterson? He really has nothing to gain by putting him a lap down with almost essentially just under a half a track lead over second place.
And we are about 3-4 laps away from a final round of green flag pit stop. So after a race that was littered with cautions earlier on, we have been green in this race since, lap 69? And we're getting close to 100 laps worth of green flag racing. For Matt Cook, it's all about don't speed. His pit crew are going to be on him saying, take it easy. Do the most cautious pit entry you've ever done. Because at the end of the day, he's got an 8-second lead over Hamphire. He can pretty much tiptoe onto pit road and still come out of pit road with a lead in hand.
Yeah, give up 3-4 seconds. You have nothing to gain.
He's in.
And that was still a pretty aggressive entry. He hit 45 right at the cone.
Yeah, he did dip to about 40 miles an hour and just then put on the pit limiter. His pit in time, 31.4, so still not bad actually. He's only a tenth or so slower than what he did earlier on in this race. Hamphire, of course, stayed out a lap longer earlier on in the running. Martin Miller looks like he's staying out for another lap as well. So Matt Cook is the first one of the lead drivers to blink. Will Hamphire come onto pit road this time? By the answer is no. But Josh Chin is going to come onto pit road. Let's see what he can do. And of course, he's got to bear in mind, he has got that rear wing damage. Nicely onto pit road for Josh Chin. Again, being cautious. He didn't want to do anything that was too hard on his race car. Joshua Chin in the 93 car is on pit road. Let's see whether Miller or Hamphire will come into pit road this time by. The answer is going to be Hamphire stays out another lap. Martin Miller does also, as does Brendan Lichtenberg.
So very, very good gas mileage for Hamphire, and he just about a quarter straight away from putting Matt Cook a lap down, which that would have been huge if yellow would have come out, but that's not the case. And for Joshua Chin, going to have to be very easy on the gas now with the tires. Don't know if he changed tires, but with that rear wing damage, it's going to be a little dicey on this first couple laps as he comes out. He's on the apron. Joshua Chin, great save in turn 3 and 4. That could have made a bad day worse.
And of course, these cars are always a little bit looser at the start of the run. When you've got that aerodynamic damage, you have no idea what is going to happen. You really are abusing the in-car tools over those first couple of laps just to find some form of balance. And here comes Hamphire onto pit road. In fact, he's made his pit stop, making his pit stop right now. It was a 31.8 pit in time for him. Martin Miller stays out on the racetrack. He's going to do one more lap. Let's see whether he comes on this time with 21 laps left to go in this race, and he carries on the racetrack, as does Brendan Lichtenberg. Again, Martin Miller, let's just have a look, see where he last came onto pit road, and is at the end of the lap 108. So he's gone 43 laps on this one tank of fuel, and he is going to pit this time by.
So a very lengthy run, so more gas mileage than we really were expecting. Got to get 45 miles an hour, and he gets in. Little aggressive, but I think he's going to be okay.
Yeah, Brendan Lichtenberg also onto pit road, and let's see whether or not he is good to go as well in this race. 31.1 pit-in lap there for Brendan Lichtenberg, a 31.3 pit-in lap for Martin Miller. So almost a full second slower than what he did earlier on, as Brad Sanford just exiting pit road as well on the racetrack. Brad Sanford, of course, he's running, who was scored in P5, will probably drop back to about P7, but good run for Sanford in this race.
Oh, very good run. Very good run. Let's see, for Sanford started 15th, so good progression through the field, and really for everybody that's on this race, you can say it's a good race. High attrition rate, very challenging track. This might be one of the most challenging tracks we go to due to the banking differences. We've seen really good drivers, championship caliber drivers, make some mistakes here today.
And of course, with the long green flag runners we've had, I say, getting close to 100 laps worth of green flag racing, we go from a race which is, a little bit stop-start. Mentally, you've got to get yourself in and out of rhythms, to now a race which is very physical. And it is very easy. If you try and get onto the power a little bit too early, you're brushing up to the wall. And it's very physical, handling these cars around this racetrack, but also still mentally difficult as well, because you really have no room for error here. Because, one bad lap, it's 2-3 attempts disappeared, gone.
Oh, yeah. Some ovals, you can make a small mistake and really get away with it. I'm thinking of turn 3 and 4 at Phoenix. You can really start pushing just a little bit, lift out of the gas just a little bit, and really hide that mistake. Here, not so much. Mistakes, you can't hide them. You can't really shake them off, and it'll take half a lap before you can get that momentum back.
So we are down to less than 20 laps to go in this race. And Matt Cook, we have to say, really now is absolutely dominant.
Oh, dominant. Leads up to 9 3/4 second as Martin Miller's actually been able to get around Nefriog through the pit cycle. And for Joshua Chin, still in 5th place. So if a yellow doesn't come out, I think Chin is still going to be able to salvage a top 5, which with rear wing damage is a phenomenal effort.
14 laps to go, and we've got 7 cars scored on the lead lap. Chad Peterson has gone down a lap in this race. We'll run through some of the retirees that have taken place in this race so far, and it all started with John Porzek on lap number 4 of the race, coming loose out of turn number 2, Aaron, and really that car just slammed to the inside safety barrier. And cold tyres, it was one of these things, the pack close together. Porzek was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Wrong place, wrong time. Also caught up David Sockrider in that ordeal. Didn't cause the yellow though. Both cars either got onto the pits, or for Porzak, he got off the racing surface in a hurry to the inside wall. But that really was a precursor to things that we would see shortly thereafter.
Paul Jenkins, Terry Mattinson, they were the first caution of the day. 2 teammates coming together, but the big one really was on the restart with Ray Kingsbury and Tim Holgate coming down into turn number 1. Holgate, of course, he said his piece a little bit earlier on in this broadcast on what he thought went wrong there down into turn number 1. In hindsight, perhaps a little bit more room could have been given by Ray Kingsbury.
Yeah, and I think that moment for those 2 drivers are going to live for a long time. That's something that Holgate's going to keep with him for quite a while. You run an entire championship season. You're running for a championship against some of the best drivers in the IndyCar on iRacing, and you have a chance to win, and something like that happens, and that's going to stay with him. I think that event, we're going to talk about that for some time to come.
Tim Miller out of this race, he's going to be classified 19th. Connor Cross, Kevin Kress came together that caught a caution. Then probably the biggest incident of the race, Randy Cosmo, Joe Branch, A big crash there on a restart. And just after Joe Branch was able to save a magical save in turn 1, didn't work out for him in turn 3 and 4. Randy Cosno, Joe Branch came together.
You can only get away with moments that you can save 1 in 1,000 so many times before it catches up with you, and Joe Branch's car just did not like the cold tires, did not like the restarts, got away with it in 2, but it all caught up to him, and unfortunately, again, Randy Crosno got caught up in somebody else's incident.
Less than 10 laps to go in the race. Cook still leads. The gap between himself and Martin Miller is almost up to 10 seconds on the racetrack. I do have to say, though, that the last couple of laps, Martin Miller is a little bit faster, but I think Cook is just, easing it down a little bit now. With 7 laps to go, you can almost afford to go a second a lap slower and still win this race. For Nefriarg, though, despite everything that he's been involved in, you have to say him and Brendan Lichtenberg, very good showings, and Lichtenberg's had some good running in that Broken Arrow car this season.
Oh, he has definitely, for Lichtenberg, has had some phenomenal runs. This one, too, he is now behind Nefri by about 4 car lengths. Maybe if there were more time, he might be able to get up there and make a pass. For Nefri, that contact that he had, or I guess several times of contact with Cook and contact with Chin, the car just really hasn't responded the same way since then. I think he had a car to win this race. The contact with Cook, though, slowed his car down just enough, and from there, 3rd place, still going to be a good run, but I think if we talk to him at the end of this race, he's going to say he had more in it.
Indeed, sir. And just to let you know, we are going to be 101 laps green come the end of this race. One of the longest green flags runs we've actually had in the 16th Street over the last couple of seasons. And attrition did play a big part of that. Of course, we ended up really with just 14 cars by the midpoint of this race. But since then, we have been a green all the way. 2 lots of green flag pit stops. The biggest loser in that, of course, was Chad Peterson. He sped on the first of those 2 green flag pit stops, and that put him from running in P2, P3, all the way down to running in P8 in this race. The first car scored a 1 lap down. Matt Cook's got himself a little bit of traffic. That is the number 33 car ahead of him, as he's going to get the white flag as he comes out of turn number 4. And I tell you what, there's also one other car ahead of him, and that is Joshua Chin, who's only a second ahead on Matt Cook on the racetrack from staying a lap down. He's going to get the white flag. This is the final lap of the race down into turn number 1 and 2. Here comes Matt Cook. I think he's just allowing Vic Cordial to stay on the lead lap. He's doing the victory weaves already. He knows how big that gap is to Martin Miller behind him. He comes out of turn number 4. Matt Cook goes back to the championship lead in the 16th Street Racing League by taking victory at the Magic Mile.
And what a victory coming from last to first. That doesn't happen very often. And also, when you win the race and you're about to lap your championship contender, that adds just a little bit more to that smile. What a run by Matt Cook.
So, Matt Cook comes home in the 1st position. Martin Miller comes home in 2nd. Nefriarg in 3rd. In fact, Nefriarg and Brandon Lichtenberg, they were very close those last couple of laps, separated by just 0.2 of a second. Then Josh Chin comes home in 5th place. You got to say for Chin, he was very lucky that race went green to the end.
Yeah, very lucky indeed. And wow, what I'm still so much happened this race that I actually wow, I'm at a loss for words. Matt Cook, great run. And for Chin, yeah, lucky, no yellows. If a yellow would have came out and there were 9 cars on the lead lap, he very well may have finished 9th.
And for Vic Cordial, we haven't talked about him all broadcast, but P6 for him.
Good run. He finished, I believe, top 5 at Phoenix. So he's really good at these 1 mile ovals. Brought it home on the lead lap, 6th place, and he's had a good showing as of late.
So, we will run through your final race results in just a moment's time, but perhaps driver of the season, Matt Cook, P25 to P1?
Yeah, not only the nominee, I think we can almost award it to him. I doubt something like that isn't going to happen very often. Not going to happen for sure. 25th to 1st You'd be hard-pressed to have that same effort, as much attrition as we saw, to get through everybody and not have anything happen to you. What a run. What a run.
So then, it is now time to run through your final race results. And Matt Cook, in a time of 1 hour 18 minutes, claims victory by just over 10 seconds from Martin Miller. P3, Nefriarg, a further 2 seconds back. Brendan Lichtenberg, a good showing by him in the number 12 machine, comes home in the 4th position. Josh Chin, after rear wing damage, rallies back to come home in the 5th position. Vic Cordial 6th, Brad Summond 7th, Chad Peterson in 8th, Matt Kingsby 9th, and then Mark Shute rounds out your top 10. Kerry Bettenhausen in 11th, Eric Davis in 12th, and Now McBride in 13th. They are your drivers who finished the race. Half the field failed to finish, and Chuck Eisenberg is the fastest of the retirees. Joe Branch, Randy Crosno, Kevin Kress, Connor Cross, Tim Miller, Ray Kingsbury, Tim Holgate, Terry Mattinson, Paul Jenkins, and David Sockrider, John Paulson, all out of this race. A 50% attrition here at the Magic Mile. However, it is Matt Cook who goes back to the championship lead. We'll get full confirmation of the points differential between those two drivers in a couple of minutes' time. But you have to say, a little bit of damage averted for some of those drivers. Others, I think they were very lucky in the fact that they were in the right place at the right time all race long, Aaron.
Yeah, indeed. For some drivers, they got away with things. Other drivers, I'm definitely thinking of Joshua Chin, that contact with Nefri Og. I think Chin had a second or third place almost guaranteed. Not the way it ended. 5th place. When we get to Auto Club, we could be talking about this race. The gap between 2nd place points and 5th place points. Man, that's big.
And Matt Cook does go to the championship lead. 19-point difference right now between Matt Cook and Josh Chin. Importantly, Tim Holgate is 41 points back now. And for Holgate, that is a case of he can do it, but he's going to need a lot of things to go his way.
A lot of things to go his way. In his mind, he essentially is going to have something happen to Chin and Cook in one of those races. If Cook has a DNF and if Chin has a DNF in one of those 3 races, Tim Holgate's back in it. But unless he sweeps all 3 races, it's going to be very, very difficult. He's going to need some bad luck to happen to some other drivers.
And once again, Matt Cook takes victory in the 16th Street Racing League. Aaron, take it away.
Oh, Matt, how about that first lap? We on the broadcast said it looked very much like Tony Kanaan at Iowa a few years ago. How on earth did you go from 25th to 14th or 13th in just one lap?
Well, the leader decided not to start until the green came out, and a lot of people weren't exactly prepared for that, so it allowed me to get a really good jump, and I just kind of crossed my fingers and prayed that I was going to make it through that without someone coming down into the middle lane.
Yeah, definitely perhaps the drive, that best drive we've ever seen in the 16th Street League, starting last to first. But I do have to ask, great win, but did something just go wrong in qualifying that got you back that far?
Yeah, I got a little tiny bit loose coming through turn 3, and by the time that I had decided, you know what, I'm going to stop the car and try and take one more attempt at it, I had already gone by the line before I could actually physically stop.
And at that point in time, was there ever at any point in your mind that you thought that by halfway you would be leading this race?
By halfway, probably not. I expected it was going to be a long haul up through the middle, and I'd have to make up a lot of time on cautions, which I was actually losing time on cautions. So, in general, or pit stop, sorry. In general, I never expected that I was even going to be anywhere remotely in the middle of the pack within the first 10 or 15 laps.
Certainly one of the best drives we've ever seen. And anyone you want to thank for this? Anyone you want to mention? Thank?
I definitely want to thank the guys at Banshee and Aero X, and I want to also apologize once again to Nefri Og for our slight incident coming out of turn 2.
And that contact, did that hurt your car at all after that?
No, actually, my car seemed to get faster from that. Unfortunately, for him, he did fall back a few spots, and it took him a while to get going again. But it was just I drove a little bit. I was trying to get out front and see if I could slowly pull away, and I ended up hitting the little bit of a bump that comes out of turn 2. So that just, one thing led to another, and I came up high. So.
And one last question. Battling for a championship, how nerve-wracking were those restarts with cold tires as we saw cars just scattering everywhere? How difficult was it, one, to move forward, and two, you have the championship in the back of your mind?
It's definitely nerve-wracking. You never really know where the car is going to go. It can dive all the way to the inside, even with just the smallest amount of steering input. It's unfortunate that we do have to run the cars this loose in order to make them run acceptable times, but it is what it is, and we all knew that coming into it, so you kind of have to remove that from your mind and just go out and do what you need to do.
Well, Matt, superb win. Congratulations, 25th to first. That's something to be proud of and something I'm sure we're going to be talking about for quite a few seasons to come.
Thank you.
Cheers, Aaron. Meanwhile, Brandon Lichtenberg came home in the 4th position. Another good showing by the Broken Arrow stable. Brandon, P4 in this race, and after qualifying here today in the 5th position, really, you and Chad have been kind of thereabouts all day. Bad luck for Peterson. Yourself, however, another top 5 finish.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great race. I feel really bad for Chad. He had his own misfortunes. And definitely want to apologize to Paul Jenkins for giving him the black flag at the beginning of the race. I feel terrible about that. And nothing really I can do. But overall, pretty good race.
Good race and tough race as well. Really, it was 2 different races there. First half of the race, avoid the mayhem, get yourself into position. The second race, a very long, hard slog. In fact, it's not often you get to do 100 laps green in a row at New Hampshire on a track where really you have to be picture perfect every single lap.
Absolutely. It was a long race. Like you mentioned, the attrition, I think half the field was wrecked out, and it's definitely a long race. Just had to keep your nose clean. A lot of people had that front wing problem, but I don't know if I had that at all. I'll have to go back and see.
And as the laps progressed, I mean, you had a great battle with Nefri in the dying stages of the race. We caught quite a bit of it on screen. Did you think you could get yourself into a podium position there, or was it just a case of bringing the car home at the end?
I was definitely pushing. I was giving it all I could, but third would have been nice, but top 5, I'm absolutely happy for.
Top 5 once again for the Broken Arrow team. Anyone you want to thank?
I'd like to thank Broken Arrow, Ryan Orr, Brandon Trano, and Chad for running with me tonight, and all the other guys over there.
Well, Brandon Lichtenberg coming home in the 4th position. We're going to go down and we're going to go up. Josh Chin, P5. Been a bit of a crazy day for you.
Yeah, definitely wasn't the result I was looking for. Was a little all over the place on the track today, and was happy to get some laps let in and get those bonus points, but was looking more for a second or third with the way Matt was running, and just didn't quite get it today.
Didn't quite get. I tell you what, there's about 3 different points in that race where you could have been out of the race, especially the starts and the restarts have been crazy for you. How many pairs of underwear did you get through over the course of this race?
Just the one I started out with. It actually wasn't too hairy. There were a couple little moments here and there, especially the one with Joe on I think the second to last restart or something like that. But otherwise, I actually felt pretty good about the restarts. It was fun to be able to get around everyone when they were slipping and sliding and just keep on going straight.
And then, of course, you had that incident with Nefriarch, which gave you some rear wing damage. That car did seem to be a lot more difficult to drive afterwards, especially after your final pit stop. Just how hard did you have to hold on to that in turn 3?
There were some times where it got really loose and I just forgot to switch the weight jacker back. But I have to say sorry to Nefri because I saw him looking there and I didn't realize how close he was when we got to the corner, and I had to check up a little bit more just to make the corner, and we got together. it didn't affect his race too much, and he still got a third out of it. But it sucks that it played out that way.
You've got 3 races. You've got a track which arguably you're going to be dominant at, and you've got 2 ovals, Iowa and Auto Club. As far as the championship goes, how do you rate your chances?
Pretty good. I have to have a good showing at Iowa though. The heat races are going to be make or break for me, I think. That's where I have to make up some points on that. On one of the oval races, I can't lose points again like I did tonight. And Road America will be a really fun race. I feel really good about going into there and my shots to win. And then Auto Club, we don't even know what's going to happen there. It's going to be one of those races. It's up in the air for anyone to win, I think.
Well, well done. P5 for you in this race. Despite some adversity, Josh Chin in the number 93 car. I say we're going to go down and we're going to go up. Nefriarg has just finished talking to all the Fuzzy Vodka girls. However, Nefri, it's a race in many ways of what could have been.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you, Will. I haven't been this disappointed in a long time, man. I feel like I had the car to beat, and it was tough out there for everybody. To be honest with you, and certainly nobody's fault but my own. And man, I just of all the races we've done this season, that was one I sure as hell felt like I should be sitting in victory lane right now. So the podium, it's very rare I'll say this, but the podium just don't feel so good.
Now, you led laps early on, and for the first half of the race, you know, that car was just phenomenal. Not only in actually running, but on the starts as well. Just somehow being able to nail them perfectly. But then, of course, you had that contact with Matt Cook about midway through the race. How much did that damage your race car?
You know, it's one of those deals. Well, it didn't damage me too bad, but especially at a place like New Hampshire, you know, I think I might have bent a toe a little bit because, you know, it's this track's all about center off, and I got that, and you feel this sometimes when you're setting the car up, when you got that little hooky feeling there in between 1 and 2, and man, it didn't quite feel right. I still had the speed, but when I was right up behind people is when you really got to get after it, and when I get within a couple car lengths of people, I think felt like she's going to come around on me. But you know, hey, that's a racing deal. There ain't a cleaner racer in this series than Matt Cook, and congratulations to him on the win. It was just, you know, when you race this tight and you're around people that good, you feel comfortable running tight. Sometimes you bang wheels.
And then, of course, you had that contact with Josh Chin towards the end of the race, still able to come home in P3, however. You say disappointed as far as it goes, but that long green flag run, how physically tough was it on you?
Well, you know, I mean, I've never been in shape. You know, my off-season training program pretty much consists of drinking beer and sitting on the couch. So, if Donovan McNabb thinks racing doesn't involve any athletes, so he should come check me out right now because I'm just a little what's the word, sweaty.
A little bit sweaty indeed. Well, we'll let you towel down. Go and chat to the Fuzzy Vodka girls. Well done, P3. Before we let you go, 3 races left to go. Haven't got yourself a win so far this season. Do you think any of the 3 you got a good chance at?
Well, yeah, certainly the oval tracks. You know, I mean, I say it every week, but you know, when you got Tim Holgate and Niles Anders, and Joe Branch and Jim McClure and all the boys putting these setups together, you never know what can happen. Iowa Speedway in particular has been a strong point of ours for a long time, and we've already put our toe in the water a little bit when it comes to Auto Club, and you know, Road America is a beautiful track as well. We'd like to see Holgate get up at the sharp end on that deal, and we'll see where it goes. Well, anything can happen.
Well, cheers, Nefriarg, the biggest character as far as the 16th Street Racing League goes. Always great to talk to him. And Aaron, next week we go to Iowa. And you mentioned that bump earlier. A lot of 2-wide racing I think we're going to have. And I think we might even set a record for lead changes if it goes well.
If we have Cook and Chin up front, these bonus points are going to be important. Leading the most laps, it could come down to that. So if they're 1-2, they may battle it out, and we're going to see 2-wide, maybe 3-wide racing. Very easy to do that there. Can you get through the corners? That's the question. Lots of strategy going to play out at that track. You really can't afford to be mid-pack. Things do happen there as they happen at New Hampshire. So this week may have been the biggest wild card, but next week it too can throw a curveball very quickly.
And with that, we end our coverage of the 13th round of the 2013-14 16 Street Racing League, powered by iRaceForLife.org. Don't forget, through the partnership with 16 Street Racing League and iRaceForLife.org, $10 goes to the winner's charity of choice, iRaceForLife.org, and the, if I get out my words here, the International Light Technologies Road Course Championship, presenting sponsors of the 16 Street Racing League. It has been a race of two halves here today at the Magic Mile. Cautions early on, then 101 green flag run to take us to the end of the race. Matt Cook, absolutely dominant, coming from the rear and taking victory by over 10 seconds over Martin Miller. Next week, we head over to to Iowa Speedway even. And Iowa Speedway is going to be a track where these drivers are going to have to be picture perfect. Mind that bump on the inside of turn number 1, and be careful when you come out of turn number 4. So many drivers like to get loose out of that corner, and of course it will be live, it will be exclusive here on iRacing Brazil. A belated happy birthday, of course, to Raphael Sank, the guy who does camera work, and also to our very own Aaron Likens, whose birthday was this past week. We'll be back in exactly 7 days' time for the 14th round of the championship. The championship, yeah, kind of opened up a little bit for Matt Cook, but as we've seen all season long, anything, and I mean anything, can happen. And when we get to the bull ring, something is definitely going to occur. Thanks for watching, kids. Will Vincent, Aaron Likens, Raphael Sank, iRacing Brazil presentation of the 16 Street Racing League. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Team targets. All the best to everybody at iRacing Brazil.
I want to be Silvestro, and I hope all the iRacers in Brazil are having a lot of fun on iRacing.
Hi, I'm Justin Wilson. Want to say hello to all the iRacers down in Brazil. Hope you have fun. Enjoy the racing. Take it easy.
Hey, I'm Wyatt Gooden and iRacing Brazil. Awesome league. You guys are great. Cool league.
Mandar um abraço aí pro pessoal do iRacing Brasil. Continue jogando aí.
Aí galera, eu sou o Hélio Castro Neves. Fique ligado no iRacing Brasil. Vamos lá, Brasil.
Vamos lá.